So after I posted last night and some of the groups, I've had like a lot of people kind of message me. So I'm just gonna make this quick video. That's just gonna do a quick overview on what you need and what I plan to supply. So right now, first and foremost, is I am not building harnesses right this second. I was only just kind of gauging interest to see if anybody wanted to do it. Now, normally what I do for the Beats is I produce like a plug and play adapter, which is essentially what I've done here. And I may be keen to doing that for you guys, but the problem is that I only have one harness and I don't know how many variants there are. So if you're looking to get a plug and play adapter made, what I need to see is going to be these three plugs right here. I need to see them plus the wire colors. And then I'm going to need, as best as you absolutely can, the ECU connectors and the wires that go to them. So another thing in terms of how this all works is that you retain your lower harness. So your lower harness should be the harness that's connected to the transmission. It'll have the transmission, the starter wiring, oil pressure sensor, alternator wiring. So you would be using all that from your chassis. So as you can see here, this is the Beat lower harness here attached to the E07Z alternator with a jumper in place. So in my post, I also said that you would have to tap the main relay. I will supply this harness here, and so you should not have to tap to the main relay at all. And so the reason why you have to do this is because that, as you can see, the main relay is actually attached to the factory ECU wiring, which we're not using any of that. My harness would actually allow you to start the engine outside of a car with, so long as you had like the starter and a way to run the fuel pump, is essentially how it would work. So you would need battery power, battery ground, and key on is essentially all you would need, and it would run the engine. That's if we produce the harness. Now, a few other things I do want to mention. I do make the ECU Masters plug and play adapter for the E07A for the Beat applications, but you can't use an ECU Masters with the E07 motor only because of the trigger pattern. The E07Z has a very awkward trigger pattern and only Link supports it. So what I have is the lower end model ECU, which is the Monsoon X, which I'm more than happy to sell to you. But there are a couple caveats that we have to talk about. The first one is idle control. The Monsoon does not support a stepper idle. The next ECU up does, but I can't justify it for the cost of the car. Now, this car idles pretty decent even without the idle valve, but long-term effects have yet to be seen. And keep in mind, it's just going to run like any other car that does not have an idle valve. Sometimes it's going to idle perfect, in the right conditions it'll idle perfect. Other times it'll idle low, other times it'll idle high. Now with the standalone, we can add a external idle valve, which is not a big deal, but it's not going to support it natively. So in terms of the Link ECU, it has an onboard map sensor, it has onboard CAN bus, but it does not have onboard wideband. So you have to add your own wideband to it. Link sells their CAN bus wideband, which is a really good unit, but it's also extremely expensive. I've been using the AEM X series, and the reason why I use that is because it also has CAN bus on it. For you tech nerds out there, keep in mind that the AEM only runs at 500 kilobytes a second, whereas the Link CAN will run 1 megabyte a second in terms of communication. Also keep in mind the Monsoon only has one CAN bus. Other Link ECUs has two CAN buses, but if you don't really care, it's going to be totally fine. So just to reiterate, if you want me to make a plug and play adapter, I need to see the ECU connectors plus these, which I believe are to the factory fuse box. Again, I can't guarantee that since the harness was just brought to me, slapped on the car. We are currently using a Monsoon. I'm more than happy to pin up any type of ECU from the Link brand. I can sell it to you. I can install it. The Link ECU will do flex fuel. It will do boost control. So there's no worries about that. Again, I've been using, on this particular car, I've been using the AEM wideband just because of this CAN bus, and I think it's a good bang for buck.